afternoon, everyone. How excited are you to usher in a brand new month, my favorite month, November, which is my birthday month? And how excited are you to take the kiddos out and do some fun trick-or-treating today? Now, I wanted to come on live because because I was realizing that there are a lot of messages out there in terms of, as an adult who is working on your health goals and maybe has children who are going trick-or-treating, so you have candy widely available to you right now, how do you as an adult handle the candy? Now, a lot of health coaches out there will say, don't eat the candy. Like, here are some other things you can eat that are healthier for you. Avoid candy at all costs. Do this, do that, but just don't eat the candy. And on the other side of the camps, we have the just eat the darn candy. It's just a piece of candy. It's not gonna, kill you. It's not gonna destroy all the good work you've put into it. So we have people on both sides of the camp. And I would like to offer, as a health coach and a former fat girl, a more nuanced approach today. So today's live is called Just Eat It, because there are some decisions that have to go into whether you do eat the Halloween candy, and also give you a toolbox for how to eat the Halloween candy in a way that feels satisfying, but also like you are not sabotaging yourself. Satisfying without sabotage. Who doesn't want more of that? Now, I just realized that you can add a poll on Facebook on the live video. So I added a poll there, and I asked, what is your favorite Halloween candy? Because there are some people that seem to gravitate towards chocolate. There are some people who gravitate towards something nutty and kind of chewy. And then there are other people who say, give me all the sugar. And then other people are less discriminatory. They're like, I want all the candy. So please vote for your favorite Halloween candy. My favorite is probably Butterfinger. And we'll talk a little bit more about that during the course of this live video. So before I get jumping into this, and if you're watching me, please say hi, vote in the poll for your favorite Halloween candy, and share this video if it touches you or you think is a helpful resource to other people. So my name is Jen. If you are new to my page, I am a health coach, completely product free. I walk people through the process of achieving body bliss, and I do it in a way that feels personal and unique to someone's situation. So we set goals according to what their needs and their lifestyle currently is. I've been doing this for several years as a health coach, and I am also a motivational speaker. I share quite a few programs on meal planning without counting anything, gym-free fitness, and other types of techniques like how to really get your mind in the game, because if your mind is not there, your body will have a harder time to follow. So today we're going to focus on Halloween candy. How do you deal with it? And this is in direct response to some of the posts out there that say, don't eat the candy or just eat the candy. We're going to find the middle ground in between. So I'm going to show to you, look at what I have in my house. I have a ton of candy. Very unlike me, I have gotten 2 large bags from Costco of candy because I'm hoping to attract more trick-or-treaters to my house this year. While we've been living here for quite a while, we have not had a lot of trick-or-treaters, or we don't tend to spend Halloween at our house. We go to someone else's house. So I'm very excited to be handing out candy this year. I'm very excited to attract more kids to our place. We've got carved pumpkins on our porch. Now let's talk about candy, because I know a lot of people that identify as either sugar addicts or chocolate addicts. There are very few women, I think I know maybe 2 or 3 women in my circle who don't like chocolate at all. God bless you. I'm sure you have your other trigger foods out there, but if you don't like chocolate, good for you, right? Halloween is not a temptation for you. But I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to those folks who Halloween is a big temptation for you. And if you're a mom of kids who go trick-or-treating, it's almost impossible to avoid having some sort of candy in your house. Even if you elect not to hand out candy, or you want to be one of those healthy moms who hands out apples or pencils or something non-food related, more power to you. Again, I'm not talking to you today. I'm talking to you moms who are like, I got a big bowl of candy, kind of like my big bowl of candy right here. And what are some tricks I can use to avoid these treats, or make these treats less appealing or satisfying to me so that I don't even think about the treats. We're going to talk about those tricks today. Some of them are you may have heard before, but I'm sure some of these tricks you have not heard before. So I've got a lot of M&Ms in my house, and I don't worry about it. I can literally keep a whole bowl full of this big chocolate in my house, and it doesn't bother me. Now, full disclosure, I eat candy, and I have been eating on this candy. I had told myself I wasn't going to open the bag of candy, but I did. And so I have been slowly eating on this candy, and my family has been slowly eating on this candy. Not going crazy, but we have been eating on it. So I'm not one of those health coaches who will be like, just don't eat the candy ever, because candy happens. If you're a mom of kids of any age, candy probably happens in your life, and avoiding it is not necessarily something that you can or choose to do. And that's okay. You don't have to avoid candy like it's the plague, the black plague, if you will. But what do, right? You have a big bowl of candy in your house, maybe to hand out to trick-or-treaters. How do you avoid eating that candy like it's the last day on earth and you're having your last supper? More importantly, how do you avoid eating that candy in such a way that you feel physically ill because you feel you have no control over candy? Here's trick number one. Make it harder for you to eat the candy. And what does that mean, really? Obviously, if you have a big open bowl in front of you, you're probably going to dig in at some point, especially if you're home during the day. If it's widely available to you, it's right there. It's staring at you every time you walk past it. If it's in a highly visible place in your house, that's hard to avoid, right? But you can hide it. You can put it away inside of a cabinet. Never underestimate the power of out of sight, out of mind. In fact, Brian Wansink, who is from the Cornell Food Lab, and he's a brilliant guy. He's written many books on how to control your environment so you stop mindlessly eating. But he said there are research studies out there. He himself has done the research and basically says if you put food, especially candy, in an opaque bowl or container, you're less likely to indulge in that candy. And he did his research in an office environment. So if you're working in an office and happening to watch this live video, thank you so much for joining me live. I appreciate it. Thank you for multitasking at work. But you might have a bowl of candy on your desk, or your manager might have a bowl of candy on their desk. If you make that bowl opaque, which means you can't see through it, you're less likely to reach into the candy jar and pull something out. That's trick number one. Put your candy in an opaque container. And that can be easy to do, right? Just find something that you can't see through. That's pretty easy to do. And that makes it basically out of sight, out of mind. So even if you can't hide it inside of a cupboard, you can't hide it away or keep it closed until it's time to open it. Keep it in an opaque container that you cannot see through, and you're less likely to reach for it. Trick number two. Attach your eating of that candy, which is an undesirable thing for many of us, to something that you want to improve in your life. Now, this is a technique that comes from Atomic Habits by James Clear, and this is very effective. You may have heard some people who say, well, I work out at, I go running and I do a huge exercise or workout, really intense one, so that I can eat candy. And that's not necessarily where we're going with this trick. Candy is not your reward for working hard. Candy, if you attach that emotional component to candy, it's going to feel like a reward for you. And that's not the type of reward you want to set yourself up for if you tend to overeat candy or you feel like you're addicted to sugar. It's not the type of habit you want to establish for yourself. However, if you're a person who struggles with getting a regular exercise routine or consistent exercise routine in your life, and I know a lot of people who do struggle with this, then if you say, well, after I work out, and you set the timing and the location for that, that's totally up to you. You have complete control over what that looks like. But you can attach that exercise and say, when I'm done with this 30-minute workout where I challenge myself physically, I will then have one piece of candy. One piece of candy. And not like open bowl of candy, you choose whatever you want, but you choose the one candy that you love the most. You probably have your favorites, right? If you didn't vote in the poll on this video, please vote for your favorite kind of candy. And you can comment with what the name of the candy is. For me, it's Butterfinger. But chances are good if you have a full bowl of candy, there's one candy in there that's really calling your name. It's like, come on, get me. Come and get me. You want to eat me. You know, this happens, right? Certain candies are more tempting to us than other candies. And for those of you who are in the avoid candy camp, you could say, well, just buy the candy you don't like to eat. And that is also another trick. I wouldn't call it a trick, it's a technique. And it does not always successful. Supposing your partner comes home with candy that you love. Supposing someone else in your house is responsible for buying candy. Avoiding your favorite candies may not be the end-all be-all for you. So just throwing that out there. So you could attach a desired behavior you want to cultivate to a behavior that you currently have or are wanting to do. So not that your candy is your reward for your workout, but you know that it's contingent upon doing something else that is challenging for you or has been tricky for you to do. Now the challenge there is eventually you're going to have to, you know, cut the apron strings there and not attach that candy to that workout. But we'll get to that point at that's a more advanced technique that we don't have time for today. Trick number 3. You have that candy in front of you. It's looking good. You have it in an opaque container. You've attached a more desirable habit to the obtaining or eating of that candy, the enjoyment of that candy. Trick number 3. If you don't set clear expectations on how much candy you will allow yourself, by the way, permitting yourself to eat candy is very empowering. You have to be absolutely clear on what that looks like, though, and set boundaries on what that looks like. So, for example, if you don't establish for yourself what your upper limit is in terms of candy eating, you're probably going to surpass it. What I mean by that is if you say, I will allow myself to have 3 pieces of candy today, and that candy would be a Butterfinger, a Snickers, and a Sour Patch Kids. Just throwing information out there. So if you say, I will allow myself to have those 3 pieces of candy after I work out, and once I put my candy in an opaque container, then you know clearly what your expectations are, and you have a bar set for what you're going to be doing. That is very powerful. And because you're allowing yourself to do it and you're telling yourself you're going to do it, you just have to follow through, right? And knowing that you're going to have those 3 pieces of candy is satisfying because you're still going to enjoy your candy, but not satisfying it to the point where you feel like you're sabotaging yourself, right? Because if you don't set a number of pieces of candy that you're allowing yourself, you might have 5 pieces, you might have 7 pieces. You might find yourself digging through your kids' candy after they go to bed and say, oh my God, where did all the candy go? So setting those clear expectations of what you will allow yourself. Very few of us will set out the expectation that you're going to have 15 pieces of candy, right? But if you don't set a number in your head and don't set an expectation, you might end up eating that much. I'm just being real with you folks. Like, you could end up eating the whole bowl of candy. Like, I've had circumstances where I couldn't control myself around candy. Those days are gone. But I've had circumstances where that happened, depending on what mood I was on, depending on what was going on in my life. I'm a stress eater, and I understand that. So having the temptation of candy and not having clear expectations of what I'm going to allow myself for that candy could set me up for failure. And I'm sure you've experienced this in your past. Hi, Mary, so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about that number. So supposing you don't set a clear number in your head of what you're going to eat in terms of candy. I get it. You know, maybe you feel like I'll do that later. You put it off. You procrastinate. It doesn't feel that important to you right now. I get it. Here's another trick you can use to not overindulge so that you feel sick from eating candy tonight is keep the wrappers in front of you. What do I mean by that? So supposing you dig into your lovely Halloween bowl of candy and you're like, okay, I'm going to take one now. And then 5 minutes later, you're like, I'm going to eat this one now. And then 5 minutes later, you eat another one. What do you tend to do? You tend to throw those wrappers in the garbage when you're done, right? Or crumple it, put it somewhere out of sight. Remember we talked about out of sight, out of mind? If you keep those wrappers, that evidence of what you're doing, out of sight and out of mind, you can trick yourself into thinking, oh, I only had one piece, it's good. You know, you can trick yourself into believing that you're eating less than you are. And most of us think that we're eating less than we are, sometimes by as much as 30%, 40%. Even people who are experienced at tracking what they're eating and how much they're eating can get their portions out of control. It's just a human nature thing. But if you hide the evidence of your candy wrappers, you're going to eat more, just naturally. Because you can trick yourself into thinking, oh, I didn't eat that much. I just had one or two, even if it's been 3 or 4. And those little things do add up. By the way, I'm the guru of little habits. That's kind of how I lost 100 pounds. And that's how I help my clients, is figuring out these little habits, these little tricks, these little techniques that really move the needle, but do it in a way that feels natural and easy. Don't hide the evidence of your candy wrappers. That's trick number 4. Have you ever tried doing this? Have you left your evidence in front of you? And again, this is from the research lab of Brian Wansink, who's fabulous. I love all his books. But basically, if you keep the evidence of what you've already eaten, the breadcrumbs, if you will, you're likely to eat less because you can see what you've already eaten. You can see it there. And most of us don't grab our food journal and journal as we're eating, right? We just don't do that. Why would we do that? That's crazy. You know, and sometimes we get amnesia and forget what we eat, you know, because we don't journal until like 2 hours later. Oh, I forgot I ate that. Oh, did I really eat that? Like, you're just keeping it real. Like, we'll forget and we'll not pay attention to certain things. But if you have your candy wrappers in front of you and there's like 5 or 6 of them, you're like, oh, yeah, that's my limit. I think I've reached my limit. So keep that evidence right in front of you. Do not put it out of sight. Do not put it out of mind. Trick number 6. We got one more trick coming up. Thanks, Mary. Good self-boundary setting. I'm all about setting boundaries and being clear on what it is you want and how to get there, because that's where growth happens. Trick number 6, create an experience around your candy. By the way, I would never tell anyone not to eat the candy or don't eat the cake or don't eat the cupcake. That's ridiculous. We don't just eat for hunger, and we know that. Eating is quite an experience, isn't it? There's the vision of it. There's how it looks, you know, the presentation of it. There's the smell of it. There's the touch of it. There's the taste of it. There's the smell of it. Pretty much we're putting our entire experience as humans into eating. And it's a biological need. So it's really tough to say, it's just fuel. It's just nutrition. It's not just nutrition. It never was. And that's why a lot of people struggle with obesity, because it's not just nutrition. Anyway, so trick number 6, create an experience. Let me take you back to your childhood, because this is so fun to go back down memory lane, right? You know, you went trick-or-treating, you had your favorite costume on, you got your big pillowcase. You know, back in the day, we used pillowcases. We didn't use these cute little print bags that they have today. We used pillowcases. At least the hardcore version of us did. We used pillowcases. But you go with your pillowcase, you go door to door. I lived in Wisconsin, so we went on Saturday afternoon, so it was light out. We could enjoy everyone else's costumes. We could see the people whose doors we were going up to. It was a full experience, right? And as soon as trick-or-treating started, we were there, and we finished by the time it was getting dark. And then we rustled through our pillowcase and we identified the one candy. The one candy that was like gold mine. That was like the best thing ever. And you know that you're going to hit that house next year because they gave you the best candy ever. And maybe they gave you the full-size candy bar. And you're like, yes, I hit gold tonight, and this is what it is. All of us do that, right? We did that as kids. We picked out the things we didn't like, throw away those peanut butter chews, throw away those double bubble little pieces, throw away the homemade popcorn balls, throw the pencils away, and we settled on 1 or 2 of our favorites, and we stacked them and organized them and stacked them and organized them. We created a whole experience around trick-or-treating. It wasn't just you reach in the bag and you eat whatever comes out. And yeah, there was a whole ritual around how much you ate, whether you finished the whole bag. I mean, lots of ritual around it. But what was that experience like for you? You had the anticipation. And we know that anticipation of treats and desserts and food that is satisfying, the anticipation is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than the actual eating. This is true. The research has been done on this. When we anticipate pleasure from eating, our dopamine increases in our brain, like our chemicals fire up, even if we don't eat it. Word to the wise. So how can you create an experience around this candy? Now, if you're an adult, you're probably not going trick-or-treating, or maybe you are with your kids, but you don't have your own private candy stash. And your kids might get a little upset if you try to organize and stack and find your favorites within their stash. So I'm not encouraging you to take your kids' candy and make that your experience. But can you make an experience of the candy you do allow yourself to eat? So if it's not your absolute favorite piece of candy, which share in the poll for your favorite piece of candy. I'm curious to see what people answer with that. If it's not your favorite piece of candy, is there something else you can create around that experience? And here are some simple ways you can create more of an experience around that candy. You can take it out of the wrapper. So I don't know if it's little pieces of candy that you enjoy or the bars or whatever, but take it entirely out of the wrapper. You can keep the wrapper in front of you because you want to be mindful about the fact that you're eating a full piece of candy. And if you're eating more than one, keep the wrappers there. But put it on a plate. Does that change the experience for you? Put it in a beautiful bowl that is like a reflecting, maybe it's metallic, and so it looks like it has more candy in it than it actually does. Put it on a cute, colorful napkin. Pretend like you're on Instagram and you're making this beautiful photo of enjoying your candy. You know, they go so over into it on Instagram. They have these beautiful photos where everything is perfectly staged and everything. Create an experience at your table when you eat this candy. Put it on a lovely white plate. Put in a smaller plate because you don't want to fill up that plate. Visually, we need to satisfy our desires as well. Put it in a reflective bowl where it looks like it's bigger than it is. Light a candle. Light a candle that smells like cinnamon, or light a candle that smells like pumpkin, something that's fun for you. Keep a glass of water there because that's part of your experience. When you sit down at the table to eat, you also drink something. So anytime you can create an experience around this, and take the candy out of the wrapper, put it on a plate, and make it official. It's not just I'm going to quickly eat it and hide my evidence. No, it's an experience. You're enjoying it. You're allowing yourself to experience it on more than one level. It's not just you eat it and you like quickly eat another piece. No, it's not about rushing through it. It's about creating a full experience around it. And as an adult, you get to choose what that experience looks like. Isn't that empowering? You get to choose how fun it is to eat a piece of candy. Not because you're sneaking it away from your kid and you're like, I hope my kid doesn't notice that I just took their candy. No, create a whole experience around it and make it fun. Whatever fun is to you, maybe you have a cup of hot cider with it, whatever makes it feel comforting, relaxing, and like you can really sink into that experience and enjoy it. So one last thing I would like to say about tricks today for Just Eat It. The day after. You may be a rock star at avoiding candy today because you have that much self-control. And yes, you do have control over what you eat and when you eat it and how much of it you eat, even if it doesn't feel that way. You do have control over it. What happens the day after, though? Sometimes it's not how we behave in the moment. It's how we behave and feel the day after. And you may be, really implementing all of these tricks today and they're working well for you, but tomorrow you go back to whatever your old habits were. Maybe November 1st, Day of the Dead, is when you dig into your kids' candy because either you want to donate it, give it away, recycle it, turn it into the dentist's office, whatever boundaries you set for your children. But you may feel tempted to eat more candy while you're setting these boundaries for your kids. And that happens, right? As parents, we might dig into something of our kids, and I'm not trying to excuse anyone. I do it, If my kids have something I want, I might, dig into it a little bit. It's just human nature, right? The kids don't see what I'm doing. They're at school. I take care of these things. And then in the background, I'm doing other things as well. But how you treat the day after is just as important as how you treat today. You can only act today in the moment, but you can look forward to what tomorrow holds. So tomorrow, make a decision. Are you going to get rid of that candy entirely and avoid it entirely for the rest of this week? That's up to you. Again, it's about setting boundaries, and it's about setting expectations. If you say, well, I'm going to keep the candy in my house on the Day of the Dead, one more day, but then I'm going to get rid of it. Whatever getting rid of it means. Throw it in the trash, put it in the freezer. Maybe you don't like to eat really hard frozen candy. Maybe that makes it harder for you to enjoy it. That's how you can get rid of it. Maybe you want to distribute it to different family functions, or you want to donate it to the dentist's office. If you want to get rid of it, make a plan for that and decide to do it, and decide when you're going to do it, because that will move the needle for you. And there will be temptations. And as we enter into the weekend, you might find yourself sitting there with a bowl of candy in front of you. Nope, not this year, because you have all these tricks to work on, and you know exactly what to do, so that when that question comes up, do I just eat it? You have some tricks to work on, you have some strategies, and you have the support of someone like me who's ready to support you. By the way, I teach tricks like this, but I teach more than this. I teach you how to regulate yourself. I teach you how to set goals for yourself, and I do it in a way that makes it easy, makes it satisfying, and makes things that you don't like to do more difficult, so that you don't do them as much. I make it easy, convenient, fun. And I do this through Let It Go group health coaching. So I'm launching one more round, a 6-week program of this. We start next Wednesday. So time is limited, and I'm here to support you. If you thought Halloween was bad, just you wait, girl. Just you wait till Thanksgiving. Just you wait till Christmas. I can support you through those hardest holidays for many of us. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of parties. I'm here to support you. And I would love to be that support for you. So connect with me. I offer a free complimentary phone call. So if you're not certain if this is the type of program for you, let's connect on a phone call and let's figure that out for yourself. I don't want you to be in a moment of indecision. And if this is a good time of year for you to really seize your best health, I love the holidays. I started my weight loss journey this time of year 20 years ago, and I've been able to maintain my weight loss. You too can do the same thing. Let's talk about what that looks like and what that support looks like. I'm going to pop my program down below here. If you have any questions, feel free to private message me. Schedule that phone call with me. I do have limited availability because I'm busy, but I'm not too busy for you. And I'd love to connect with you if you feel that this is important for your next level. I want to be the one to support you. As we finish up this live video, thank you for joining me. Thank you, Mary, for being here. I want to ask one thing. What is your favorite Halloween costume that you have worn? And just share that with me, because it's fun, and I love Halloween, and I love getting into the Halloween spirit. Obviously, I'm wearing my little witch hat today, but I've never actually been a witch. I've been vampires like multiple times. I've been geisha. Oh, what else have I been? I've been red hot mama. I've been poor white trash. I mean, I've been a lot of things, and I don't know what my favorite is. Poor white trash was pretty fun because it was homemade. I made a garbage can, and I wore a garbage can at a Halloween party that I hosted. That was super fun. So I can't wait to hear from you all what your favorite Halloween costume was. And I hope these tricks have been helpful for you on how to deal with Halloween candy. Sometimes it's not as simple as don't eat it or just eat it. Sometimes you're somewhere in the middle and you're like, I want to eat it, but I also have goals, and those are just as important to me as getting the satisfaction of eating that candy. So these tricks today were to help you deal with that in a more nuanced way. In the meanwhile, don't forget to check out Let It Go. I would love to support you and be there for you. In the meanwhile, happy Halloween, my pretties. We'll talk soon. Have a great Halloween. Bye-bye.